Did you keep yourself from falling into trying to sound like Larry Munson when you really just want to sound like Scott Howard?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that was my mindset going into the position when it became available. It's like, I'm not him. I'm me, and I can't be him, and nor should I try to be. Now, we'd worked together for 15 years. I didn't start working with Larry until he was in his early 70s. So he was at that point, he was on the backside of a long successful career, but he had certainly a lot left in the tank for Georgia radio fans, and had a lot of epic calls, from 1993 when I started until he retired in 2008. But when I saw, towards the end of his career and his health wasn't as good as he had wanted it to be, and he was, he just kind of decided he couldn't do it anymore. I mean, it was, to me, it was a natural transition.
Welcome to Fans First, a sports podcast where your voice matters most. Hosted by Hall of Fame sportscaster Jim Powell. This is the show that puts fans at the heart of the conversation. Whether you're cheering in the stands, screaming at the TV, or debating with friends about the latest trades, Fans First is here to amplify your thoughts, your insights, and your love for the game.
Hello and welcome to Fans First, a sports podcast. I'm Jim Powell. I'm your host. I'm honored to be in that role again today. But first, we've got some great news. We have a wonderful new sponsor for Fans First, a sports podcast. It's the Georgia Advisory Group. It's a longtime, very successful financial services firm with over 120 years of combined experience. It's run by Dave Dooley. He's the founder. He's been there from the beginning. And Dave is a big sports fan, and he's kind of built his business kind of like you would build an all-star team. He's got a Georgia Advisory Group riddled with all-stars like a full-time CPA, investment advisors, money managers, insurance experts, estate planning professionals. They have their clients covered in every way. One of the many things I love about the Georgia Advisory Group is that it is a fiduciary, which means it has a legal and ethical duty to put their clients' interests first. Lots of us get nervous about trusting someone else to oversee our hard-earned money, but I have known Dave Dooley and his family for decades, and I can tell you he is a rock-solid human being and someone I trust implicitly. Once you get to meet him, you'll quickly understand why his firm has been so successful at helping people make the most of what they have. You don't stay in business this long in a city like Alpharetta, Georgia, unless you are a very respected person, and Dave is certainly that. He and his team sincerely care more about their clients than they do even about themselves. But don't just take my word for it. Go check them out. The Georgia Advisory Group can be reached at 770-746-6511. That's 770-746-6511, located in the heart of downtown Alpharetta, Georgia. Hello and welcome to another edition of Fans First, a sports podcast. My name is Jim Powell. I'm honored to be our host once again this week, and we have yet another Hall of Fame guest to talk some college football today. His name is Scott Howard, he's got an unbelievable career that he's already gone through, because this man is in his 33rd year as voice of the Dawgs, and he's only 22 years old. So I don't know how he did that, but honestly, Scott, I would never have guessed that anybody would volunteer to follow Larry Munson because of the nature of Larry.
I keep hearing that.
And here you are 33 years later, and you're just killing it. Congratulations on all that. We'll go a lot more into your career as we move along here, but we want to get started with some college football. Georgia's coming off, and normally we don't talk a lot about any individual college, but in this case that's one reason why I wanted to have you on the show. I'd have a good excuse to wear my Georgia G.
There you go, yeah.
Talk about the Dawgs some. So the Georgia-Tennessee game was really epic. It was really a great game, wonderful radio broadcast that you once again performed. How big was that win in the bigger scheme of things? Obviously, there's a lot more football to be played in the SEC and elsewhere before we get into worrying about playoff berths and all that kind of thing. But That seemed like a very big win. I mean, Kirby was very gracious, I thought, in saying that he thought Tennessee deserved to win.
Yeah, well, they jumped up 21-7 in that first quarter, and I mean, we've seen that before in this game. Tennessee out to a fast start. In fact, last year in Athens, they had a 10-0 start in the first quarter, and Georgia was able to come back and win that game. But I just, I don't know the reason for that. It's just Tennessee's offense is really, really good, and I mean, they play at such a fast rate. It's crazy. And when you're a radio guy just trying to keep up and tell your audience what the heck is going on, I mean, it's a race to the finish to try to keep. I'm glad I don't do Tennessee radio in this offense, because it is hard to hang on for your life. But it was a big win for Georgia. As you know, they all are in the conference. I mean, you can't fall too far behind in the SEC and hope to get where you want to go. So every win is big. That one was big for a lot of reasons. The road win is important. Georgia's continuing a streak in the series. That's just a personal thing for Georgia, but it was huge. Tennessee's a good team, so that's a nice win on Georgia's ledger, and hopefully they can get a few more this season.
Well, I'm sure the folks in Tennessee or Knoxville are think that Georgia just got their number, and they're probably starting as a fan base. They're probably thinking, we will never beat Georgia. We can't possibly beat Georgia. But it's not possible to get in the heads of 70-something players on a single team. So there's a lot more to it than that. But certainly Georgia has enjoyed this series a lot in recent years.
Yeah, they had our number in the 90s. They had a 9-game winning streak way back when, and I guess everything changes around from time to time, and one team gets the upper hand over the other. And same thing kind of happened with the Florida series over the years when Spurrier came in. They had Georgia's number for a long time, and since Kirby's been at Georgia, a lot of those things have shifted around in Georgia's favor. He's got such a phenomenal record. All the conference championships they've won, 2 national championships, double-digit win seasons. I mean, it's been a huge run of success over the last decade that's unprecedented in Georgia history. So Bulldog fans certainly are enjoying the ride right now. I could tell you that, and as are the radio guys too. So it's been a lot of fun.
Speaking of accolades, of which you have many, I'm looking back at your career, and it's not just the 33 years as voice of the Dogs. You're obviously a great basketball broadcaster as well. I don't know which one you favor over the other, if you have such a feeling, but you've won a couple of prestigious ESPN awards. You're renowned nationally as one of the top broadcasters in the country in college football, and of course I was happy enough to be an MC at the Friends of Georgia Radio Hall of Fame induction of one Scott Howard here recently, and truly well-deserved award on your part, Scott. And that was a great night. I really had a great time. You had your fan base there. I thought we were in the middle of a Georgia-Tennessee game.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of family and some friends that came out, and it was a great night. And it helps to a lot of people on the board with the Friends of Georgia Radio I had worked for, so it helps to have friends in high places, I guess. But I'd worked with Dale Van Camfert, who's the president of the organizations, back in my early days in radio, and really learned a lot at his station. That was kind of my foundation in radio, better than 30 years ago. And one of the other inductees too, Scott McLeod, who's been in radio for a lot longer than I have, and just terrific people, and really gave me a firm base at their station to kind of go off and move on to other areas and try other things. So it was a great night, and I was very honored to have that happen.
Well, when we look back over your career, we see, a lot of great things that you've done. You've been a part of that radio booth for football for even longer than just the 33 years after succeeding Larry Munson. This year, actually, some changes in the University of Georgia radio football booth, which is about as rare as they get for a situation like this, and many others that people get in these jobs and they just love them because it's so much fun to call college football and enjoy the atmosphere and the pomp and circumstance and the drama and everything else that goes along with it. So tell us about some of the changes that were made inside the football booth this year, and what the reasons for that were, if there were specific reasons, and what are your thoughts about that? I mean, it's a little different dynamic when you change a couple of personalities in the booth.
Yeah, a new broadcast partner this year. Josh Brock is our new man in the booth. He's our color analyst, former Georgia player, played back in the early 2000s with David Green and David Pollock and DJ Shockley, and there's a lot of other names too. Was a part of SEC championship teams, and Josh has done a lot of radio locally in his hometown of Cartersville. That's not his primary profession. He's in the financial business, but he's good on the radio too. And he was coming in after Eric Zier was my former partner, and Eric and I had worked for 17 or 18 years together. And of course, Eric, a former legendary Georgia quarterback in the NFL for 6, 7, 8 years, however long his career was, and had a great success, a great run as a college and pro quarterback, and just a huge wealth of knowledge in football. I mean, he's just one of those guys. He didn't have to prepare as much as an analyst. I mean, he just relies on what he knows and what he sees at the time, and he's really good at his job. And this year he stepped back because he's got children that he wants to spend time with largely on the weekends, and he's coaching his kids in different sports, and wanted that time, and I mean, we all have kids, so we know what that's like. And in this profession, there's not a lot of free weekends. Certainly football and basketball season. I mean, you go about 28, 30 weeks, it's working every weekend, and it's travel and all of that. So Eric stepped back, and we were glad to be able to get Josh to come on. And this is our first year working side by side, and 3 games in, it's going great. I mean, Josh has no fear. He steps up and says what he thinks and says what he sees. And, a lot of people can get in there and get a little mic shyness, but Josh has none of that. So we're glad to have him, and, it's business as usual. We're moving right along.
So does Eric Zier call you during every commercial break over the course of the entire game, find out what's going on, tell you what to say?
That's what we teased him. We teased him that he would be doing that, but he hasn't done that yet. He's neck deep in coaching his kids, and now he will send us the results of his kids' games. I saw him at the Hall of Fame ceremony too, and he had been coaching an event earlier that day for his kids. So we talked about that a little bit. He goes, yeah, we won, and whatever the score was. And, he was talking about running plays and the whole deal. I mean, the guy could have been a coach. If he had decided to go into that profession, he would have had a lot of success, certainly as an offensive coordinator or a quarterback's coach or something along those lines. He would have had great success doing that. But Eric is still on some of our programming that we do during the week, and he wanted to keep his voice in Georgia football on the radio network. So he's doing that. He's just not working the games on Saturday.
Don't want to dwell on Larry Munson too much because his legend is known far and wide. We don't need to sit around and talk about how great he was, because he was awesome. But there's still when you come in to follow a Larry Munson, that's a tall ask, and I'm interested to find out how you handled it, because Larry had such a distinctive style that most of the fan base can sort of imitate what Larry Munson would be doing on a call or whatever. He just was just so unique as a broadcaster. How did you keep yourself from falling into trying to sound like Larry Munson when you really just want to sound like Scott Howard?
Yeah, that's that's the thing. I mean, that was my mindset going into the position when it became available. It's like, I'm not him. I'm me, and I can't be him, and nor should I try to be. Now, we'd worked together for 15 years. I didn't start working with Larry until he was in his early 70s. So he was at that point, he was on the backside of a long successful career, but he had certainly a lot left in the tank for Georgia radio fans, and had a lot of epic calls, from 1993 when I started until he retired in 2008. But when I saw, towards the end of his career, and his health wasn't as good as he had wanted it to be, and he was, he just kind of decided he couldn't do it anymore. I mean, it was, to me, it was a natural transition. I'd been there for a while. I'd had experience doing other sports, play-by-play. I wanted to do it. I wasn't fearful of that huge shadow that Larry cast, as you well know, Jim. It was a big one. It still is. It still is. I mean, every day people talk to me about Larry, or even this past weekend, I got a lot of text messages, talking about the broadcast and how much people enjoyed listening to everyone on the air, and that broadcast would have made Munson proud. And I mean, I still get that all these years later, and it's fine. It's fine. I expect that. I mean, the guy's a legendary Hall of Famer. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame, probably National Radio Halls of Fame, and on and on and on. And it was a great thrill to be able to work with Larry. I mean, I listened to him when I was in college. I listened to him when we lived in Nashville, Tennessee, when I was a small kid growing up. So I felt like I always knew him before I actually met him. I didn't meet Larry until 1989. And then 4 years later, I was able to work with him on the network. And that lasted for 15 years until he retired. But, I didn't really think about the negative side of what that wanted to be. I mean, I wanted to be play-by-play guy at the University of Georgia. The opportunity was there. I got the opportunity, and all the other stuff that comes with that, and criticism of hey, you're not the other guy. You're not Munson. Well, that just kind of went with the job. So here we are, this many years later, and we're still going.
Well, you've got many, many accolades yourself. And one thing that you should be really proud of is that, like Larry, you're very authentic. You're just being yourself, and you're being Scott Howard, calling the game as best you can. And, Larry didn't have any, signature calls that he had written down on a piece of paper for, a big 4th and 1 or something. Some people do that in this business, yeah. But, no, you're very authentic, and your style is good. Everybody loves to hear you. So you're doing a great job.
I appreciate that. That's very kind. And, as you know, in this business, I mean, you worked with legends too. I mean, how long were you with Mr. Euchre up there in Milwaukee?
Long time. Yeah, we had a great run. I actually was his longest tenured partner that he ever had. And we had a wonderful relationship. And then the Braves came calling, this was my hometown. And, I went to Georgia. Half my family or more went to Georgia. And so it was, and it was cold in Wisconsin. Let's be honest. I got to throw that in.
Yes, it is.
But, yeah, so it was an opportunity we couldn't, not try. And that worked out great too. Worked with Don Sutton for a long time, but, yeah, it's amazing the people you get to meet, and it's just as it is in baseball, it is in college football. You guys take off for a weekend road trip with the team, and I'm sure you eat dinner together, and hang out together, talk about the game, and all of that. That becomes, you're traveling with. It feels like a second family.
Yeah, that's a perfect description, and we try to hit all those high points that you just mentioned each and every week. And now for the Tennessee game, I have family in Knoxville, not necessarily red and black family, so it makes for an interesting dynamic. My sister's, my wife's sister and her husband live in Knoxville, and my brother-in-law is a Tennessee guy. My sister-in-law went to Georgia, but I think she's been converted since they've been married. And, so it, usually, we hook up with them and so it's kind of a family trip when we go to Knoxville and when Tennessee comes here. So it's a unique weekend for the Howard family anyway. But, when we, who's our next road game? Auburn, I think, is the next time the Bulldogs are on the road. So that may look more like one of those radio family trips that you're talking about. We'll try to get together on a Friday night for dinner and just kind of relax a little bit, maybe talk about the game, maybe just talk about what's going on in each other's lives, what our week looked like, and all of that stuff. You just try to stay up to date with all the other people on the crew, because everybody's coming from different directions. I mean, a lot of guys on our crew live in the Atlanta area, so I don't see them on a regular basis. We text a lot. We might talk on the phone occasionally and go over a thing or two. But, everybody's coming from a different direction until we get to the destination. And then we all get together and spend about 12, 14 hours, it seems like, in the booth on a Saturday. It's a long day. It really is. Well, I'm glad you kind of led us in this direction, because I want to get into the nuts and bolts a little bit of the SEC schedule that is still obviously in the very early stages. And obviously having a week off and then playing Alabama seems like a great advantage for the Dogs. Alabama has been a rough go for Georgia for a long time. Those games are always spirited, to say the least. But the way the schedule broke down to get a week off right before Alabama with a home date against the Crimson Tide, I mean, that's about as good as you're going to get. Yeah, they have one too. Unfortunately, so they're off this week as well. They beat Wisconsin last week when Georgia was beating Tennessee. So both teams head into the off week, and it's another big game. I mean, the SEC is just a gauntlet, as we've talked about. It's week to week. I mean, even the bottom teams, the teams you expect to be at the bottom are off to great starts this year, knocking on the door of being ranked if they're not already ranked. And I mean, there's no off weekends in the SEC, and Georgia, Alabama has that brings a lot of eyeballs and a lot of ears to the radio and to television. And it will again next, when they play again next week. Alabama's kind of had Georgia's number over the years. I mean, the one win that Georgia has had in recent memory was that national championship. Now, it was a big one. Keely Ringo, baby. Yeah, that's right. That's right. He sealed it and slammed the door. And a great call of that. That was just an unbelievable experience for Georgia fans. Hadn't won a national championship in over 40 years. I mean, it was emotional. It really was. As you and I are Georgia guys, and it was. I don't know what your feelings were when you were watching or listening to that, or if you were there. I don't know, but we broke a few windows. It was worth it, wasn't it? Yes, it was. I mean, what a great moment, and to beat the team that you hadn't been able to beat in a couple of decades was really special. And I think that's what Georgia's trying to continue to do in this series. Now, they'll probably tell you, this game is not any more important than last week's game or the next game. But I think we all know differently as Georgia people and what the importance of this game will be. No question about it. So I want to ask you to give yourself a quick lobotomy for a minute
and take Georgia
do
out
that
of
every day.
Take the Dogs out of your thought process for a minute and just think about the SEC and how you see it winding up down the road. What teams are the most dangerous? Who would you have as the favorite in the SEC? Just give us your thoughts on how the SEC slate looks going forward.
But without Georgia in the mix, is that what you're saying?
Without Georgia in the mix, because we already know what you think about that.
Oh, wow. The first team that comes to mind, probably being at the top at the end, would be LSU. I'm kind of waiting to see what Oklahoma looks like with Mateer, the quarterback, getting a lot of attention early on and having a lot of success. And, they've got a big game with Auburn coming up, and we'll see how they go from there. But they didn't have a great year last year in their inaugural SEC season. Looks like they're trying to bounce back from that. So we'll see how Oklahoma does. Who else is? Everybody's off to a really good start. It's hard to say what it's going to look like down at the end of the year. Missouri looks like they're pretty solid. They had a key injury to a quarterback early on, but they seem to be doing okay. 3-4 weeks into the season, it's really hard to tell. The sample size is not huge. And then when we get into conference play, everybody just kind of cannibalizes one another and who's survives at the end. I hope it's Georgia at the end, but right now I would probably say LSU might have the best path. Some of the schedules are, maybe a tick easier than some of the other teams. So if that's even possible, Texas was expected to be there. I don't know if they're going to get there. I don't know if they're going to get to the championship game.
I've been shocked by Arch Manning.
That it really is. I don't know. Were we just kind of duped with the buildup of that? He's still a young kid, and sometimes it takes time to develop and transition from what you were and getting into college and taking off. Sometimes it takes until you're a junior or a senior, if you last that long in college anymore, and to be able to kind of develop. I saw a comparison to Joe Burrow in his career in college with Arch Manning the other day, and it's like, he was at Ohio State and there wasn't much happening there, and he moved on to LSU and got an opportunity there, and we know what kind of legendary career he had at LSU, but it took a minute for him to get started, and maybe that's what we're seeing out of Manning.
Well, I can tell you the answer, Scott. I've got it in my back pocket. I've been waiting to break this out for you. It's called karma, because he was just about to sign with the Georgia Bulldogs, it looked like. And this way I heard the story is it's almost like in the middle of the night, he decided to switch to Texas. And of course, all Georgia fans were really upset about that. And so, yeah, a lot of bad karma has been sent in his direction. Maybe that's what's happened to him.
It could be. That sometimes happens in the world of sports, and one side is like rubbing their hands. It's all right, you getting what you deserve, and the other side is just trying to scratch their head and figure out why it's happening, what's going on. But I think he's a very talented player. He's just kind of get it right and get it going for his team and figure things out. Sometimes that doesn't happen immediately, and but from our end, things are going well. So we're fortunate that Georgia's in the situation that they're in, and I'm glad to see it.
We've had Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, on a few times, and he's always insightful. And we've talked a lot about NIL and the impact in the locker room and the impact in the culture, impact on the fans. Everybody's got an opinion on it. I don't know of anybody that is just so excited that they're going to pay the players that, nobody was wanting that to happen except the players, of course. And I'm not saying this is unfair to them at all, but what what sense do you get around the program and the SEC with regards to NIL and how players, coaches, physios, you name it, everybody's affected by it. What are your thoughts on where we stand with NIL now?
I think it's probably still evolving. It's morphing into something on a weekly basis. It seems like, another little tick here has been added to it. So, you're not going to put the toothpaste back in the tube. So it's here to stay. I think it probably becomes even more lucrative for the athletes, for the student athletes, if you will, as we move forward. Obviously, football is still the cash cow at 99.9% of major universities. So it's all going to go through that. But it's head scratching to me that a lot of these kids at 17, 18, 19 years old are falling into this kind of money and these kind of opportunities. And I don't know. It's, I'm kind of on the outside looking in, even though I'm, with the radio guy, but I'm not involved in all the numbers. And I haven't had a lot of conversations with the people that are involved in those. I mean, it's not really open conversation, at least not with me. I mean, maybe that information is available somewhere, what each guy's getting, what family situation looks like. I mean, it's crazy. It opened up a whole new door of generosity and probably a lot of problems too.
Well, Scott, we've reached a portion of our program where we do something that's a little different. It's called Flip the Switch, where we kind of take you from your comfortable discussion about, life in the radio booth, et cetera, and instead we turn you in a different direction. And today that is going to be in the direction of Carson Beck and the impact that he had on the Georgia program while he was with UGA, and your thoughts on that. Well, I'm thinking, when you say problems, I'm thinking about Carson Beck from last year, where he's driving some, monster, mega expensive car, and he's got the influencer girlfriend, and nobody, Georgia's too classy to sit there and run down Carson Beck or anybody else, but I never heard much in the way of positive things about Beck as the season unfolded last year. And it felt like there was maybe, again, I'm way beyond an arm's length from the program, but felt like maybe there could have been a culture shock within the either in the UGA culture or in the locker room or something. I may be way off base on that, but I didn't feel any warm and fuzzies for Carson Beck, even after he was injured and wasn't playing and wasn't coming to the games, et cetera.
Well, I think the situation as it is now is probably worked out best for both parties. Carson probably needed a fresh start somewhere, and I think Georgia probably did too. I mean, guy's a good quarterback. I mean, I think he's showing that now, and maybe he's got a fresh mindset. He did need the reset button, and so he's down in Miami having success, and Georgia has a new quarterback running the show, and success so far for the Bulldogs. So I think in the long term, it's going to work out best for everybody. That the times we live in this sport now, this is what you see. We've lost a lot of the loyalty that was built when a kid signed with the team. Now with NIL, because in a lot of situations, first question is about how much money am I going to make. Now the coaching staff at Georgia, I think, has kind of, I don't want to say they've put their foot down, but they have a way of doing things that, yes, the money is still involved, but there are other things at Georgia that we're told are more important than that. And if you don't meet those certain specifications as an incoming player, then, you're going to have to look somewhere else. You're not going to be here. So, so far, it seems like the situation for Georgia in this NIL world is working out well. The roster of players understands how it works. And,
they knew what they were signing up for. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's hard at Georgia. And they tell you that up front. It's not going to be easy, but if this is where you want to, if you want to end up here in this location, then we're going to help you get there. And most guys that are playing at the University of Georgia, they want to go to the next level. Certainly all are not, but that's the career that they're shooting for. And it's happened for a lot of guys in the last 10 years. I mean, it's happening for a lot of guys. Just look at the NFL right now and see how many Georgia guys are in that league, and how they got there. So it's been successful for Georgia. Certainly it's not without its bumps in the road. The Carson Beck thing was probably a bump in the road, but Georgia's moving on, and you can't dwell on the past. You just got to move forward. Keep chopping, as Kirby always says. Keep chopping, moving forward.
Well, and Gunnar Stockton looked so good last time out, and I haven't seen a lot of Puglisi, but what we have seen when he was on the field, I mean, his arm looks really impressive. So to have two good quarterbacks at your disposal, if you're Kirby and Coach Bobo, and I mean that's the kind of depth that for many teams you only dream of. But Gunnar has looked really good, and Puglisi looks like he's a very talented young quarterback in his own right.
Yeah, Gunnar is certainly looking good. I mean, that throw he made to London Humphreys on the 4th down touchdown pass.
Sick.
I mean, that's one in a million, that throw and the catch and the adjustment on the ball and the placement. I mean, everything about that play was perfect, and they work on it all the time in practice. And then Puglisi is watching him in the scrimmages and in a practice or two. I mean, it's just the quickest release I think I've ever seen at Georgia. I mean, my goodness, we saw him running a 2-minute drill in one of the scrimmages last month, and I've never seen a ball come out that quickly. And he's got a baseball background too. I think he was a pitcher and a shortstop, so I think that helps in his delivery of the football. But
his throws that I've seen were jaw-dropping.
Yeah, he's the guy that came in at the end of the half and threw that long ball, and the Hail Mary right before the half. Tennessee ended up intercepting it, but we didn't catch that until after the interception. I thought, that's 12 out there. That's not 14. But he came in there and slung the ball about, 50, 60 yards, with a high arc and right down on the goal line for that last play of the half. But I think Georgia's in a decent situation there with their quarterbacks right now with Gunnar and Ryan, and then you've got a handful of others that are on the roster as well and kind of learning their way because they're both young.
Well, Scott, it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you on with us here on Fans First. Glad we got you into the first year, so you'll be part of our inaugural celebration that as we go through hopefully many more years to come. But really enjoyed the conversation. You do a great job, as I've told you before. I enjoy listening to you. So does everybody else. So thanks for coming on with us. We really appreciate it. And the best of luck to you and, of course, the Dawgs.
Jim, thanks very much. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for the invite. And, I'd listened to you for years with the Braves and beyond, and we'd kind of touch base here and there over the years. And it's a great thrill and an honor to be with you, and much good luck in this format over the year. I hope you have a lot of success.
Really appreciate that, Scott. And we'll see you before too long. We'll turn up at a Georgia game and come knock on your door.
Come on up. Water's fine.
All right. Good luck, Scott. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
Okay. Scott Howard, our guest on Fans First, a sports podcast, and yet another Hall of Famer. I don't know why these people, they must have homes somewhere, but people seem to want to come to the Fans First podcast and hang out for a while, which we really appreciate. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of Fans First, a sports podcast. Glad to have Scott in the house with us, and we'll look forward to more great guests and more great shows coming up right around the corner here on Fans First, a sports podcast. See you next time. Well, we're at the special part of every Fans First podcast. It's the Get Off My Lawn feature, where we invite fans to come on with their opinions, good and bad, about whatever is big in the world of sports, which these days seems to be college football. That's what we have today on Get Off My Lawn.
Hey, get off my lawn!
Hey, Jim, Brett in St. Louis. I got to tell you, this year, I don't think I've watched a whole football game, college football, on any single weekend for maybe the first time ever in my life. College football is just uninteresting. There's no more development of players. Recruiting used to be that they try to get people into a program, tout the development and the athletics, the facilities. But, the term recruiting should be replaced with bidding. Student athletes gone, it's replaced by contracts. Academic All-Americans are replaced by fundraising goals. Let's really call it what it is. It's a pro league without the antitrust laws. It's just not interesting. Every year, players end up on different teams. You don't know who's who. So sports like college football should just be out of the education system. Just let them run a pro league, and let's rent out the facilities to them. Grab some of that money to fund education. Who cares who's the top-ranked football team anymore? I can tell you that if they just put out the lists of teams that have hit their fundraising goals, their war chests, and the contract values that sit out there. It's just not that interesting anymore. That's it. I'm out.
Well, Brett from St. Louis, ring that bell indeed. Your opinion was spot on, and I detected a note of sadness in it, which I totally understand, and I know that's part of the reason why we're ringing the bells. We know that there are a lot of other people that agree with you, and they're sad with what's happened with college football. Thank you very much for your submission, your contribution to Fans First, Brett. Sure you're subscribed to all of our social networks. Don't forget about our Fans First website at fansfirstpodcast.com. To be included as a guest on an episode, send your voicemail or your written memo, video file, whatever you have, send it to Jim at fansfirstpodcast.com. Please keep your submissions to no more than 45 seconds in length or so for you to be a part of the show, but you can't be the entire show. And we're so glad you joined us for this special edition with our great visit with Scott Howard. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And we'll see you next time here on Fans First, a sports podcast. Thanks for being with us.
Stay tuned, stay passionate, and keep celebrating the sport you love. Visit us at fansfirstpodcast.com to explore more. Sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive updates and follow the podcast on social media to join our growing community of sports enthusiasts. Your voice matters to us, so don't hesitate to share your thoughts and connect with fellow fans. See you next time.